Good evening. In tonight's devotion, we'll see that acts of service shows us who Jesus truly is. When Jesus speaks to his disciples in Mark 10 about how they should think about who is important and in this world, he says in Mark 10 from verse 42, "You know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be a slave to all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." On the Thursday evening, when Jesus was arrested just before he was crucified the next day, he put these words into practice on many other occasions as well, but here very clearly when he washed his disciples' feet. And you can go and read through John chapter 13 again to just pick up on those events of that evening again. Let's focus on two things that we can learn from Jesus' acts on that evening. Firstly, Jesus was carrying a heavy load on that evening, and yet he continued to serve his disciples by washing their feet. To say that I can't serve anyone now, that I can't help anyone because I have too much suffering of my own, is a very human and a very natural thing to say. We sometimes want to wait for the perfect moment to do something. The perfect moment in our own lives when there's no other stressors or stumbling blocks, the perfect moment in the interactions with other people. But if we're honest, that moment will never come in this life. And we can always use those things as actually valid excuses for not reaching out to one another. But in what Jesus did that evening, he showed us that even in carrying, and we can call it the weight of the world on his shoulders, he still continued to serve his disciples. And yes, there's something unique in what Jesus did. He is the Savior. He was busy working towards the cross and earning our salvation through everything that he was doing. And yet, after washing the feet of his disciples, he calls them up to say, "You've seen my example, now follow it." The temptation is to always hang back, waiting, hoping for the opportune moment to be able to serve someone else. But what is also the truth is that we can be shaped by our suffering to be able to serve people in very specific and very personal ways. One of my friends experienced the death of her husband, and after that she started a funeral home to arrange funerals because she said she didn't want people to have the same experience that she had, and that she wanted to be a very specific serving presence in people's lives when they suffer the agony of having someone that they loved pass away. A second remark, something that we can learn from Jesus' acts on that evening, is that he continued to serve his disciples even though none of them deserved it. On that evening, he washed the feet of Judas, who would deliver him over to be crucified later that evening. He washed the feet of Peter, who in that evening still on 3 occasions would say, "I don't know this man." If we're honest, there's no one who is worthy of being served by Jesus, and yet there's nothing else that can save us and make us worthy other than Jesus serving us by giving his life in our place. Therefore, don't stumble in your works of service, in your ministry of service, over the reaction of the people that you are serving. Don't stumble over their attitudes or in their lack of gratitude or whatever. Our mandate, our driving force to serve others, isn't found in what they do and in how worthy they are. Rather, it's found in the fact that Jesus served each one of us when we were still unworthy of being in His presence and receiving anything from Him. To each one of you, and especially to our deacons, thank you that you continue to serve others even though you are experiencing your own troubles and stumbling blocks in your own life. Thank you also that you continue to serve even though in serving you encounter that it's sometimes really ungrateful work that you are doing. I want to close with the call that we receive from in Galatians 6 verse 9 and further that says, "Let us not become weary of doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have the opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers." Good evening.